But there's the sixth trumpet. If the fifth trumpet did sound, and I'll be frank with you, it looks like to me that it in fact did. Now there is a possibility that we are yet in the fifth trumpet era because there's evidence that these are eras. When the seventh trumpet sounds, it said, and in the days when the seventh trumpet began to sound, it's as though it covers a time period. We could yet be in the fifth trumpet time period because we really haven't heard the last of Saddam Hussein yet. He's still causing problems. So if there's anything left in that prophecy to be fulfilled, it may lie just ahead of us because there's still conflict there. But I think we should now look at the sixth trumpet. The sixth trumpet is incredibly interesting. The prophecy of the sixth trumpet is located in Revelations chapter 9, verse 12 through 16. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice saying, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. Now this prophecy states that there's a war coming that will be triggered by an army of 200,000, thousands, a million. There is an army of 200 million somewhere that will start a war, and the horrible results of this war will be the slaying of the third part of men. Now, if that literally means what it says, this prophecy says this war will kill 1/3 of the world's population. We have almost 6 billion people on this earth right now, and that's a prophecy that just ahead of us is a war that will kill 2 billion people. I hope it does not touch any of us tonight, but I cannot promise you it won't. The only insurance we have is just be ready. If you're not ready, you need to find out how to get ready because there's not much time left. If the fifth trumpet has sounded, we got the sixth, which is going to be horrific, the worst war the world has ever seen. 52 million died in World War II. Now this prophecy says 2 billion. Focus for a moment on the fact that there will be 200 million soldiers. Mao Zedong, the late leader of China, boasted in his diary that he could field an army of 200 million. He boasted the exact figure in the Bible. Now, is that a coincidence? Or had atheist, communistic leader Mao Zedong been studying the Bible? I don't think he'd probably been studying the Bible. But he inadvertently named the exact number of soldiers that's in that prophecy in Revelation chapter number 9. Now, beyond that, there has never been a nation in the history of the world that had enough population to put 200 million soldiers on the battlefield. We only have 250 million total population in the United States of America right now. And so there had never been a nation in the history of the world that could put 200 million soldiers on the battlefield. However, now Mao Zedong says that he can because they have 1.2 billion population. So this appears to be a prophecy that China will start a war. And the prophecy says about China that this army was reserved for an hour, a day, a month, and a year. It's like the sleeping giant has sort of been in waiting. Everybody refers to China as the sleeping giant. Don't wake her up. Let me tell you what is happening in China right now. The Chinese economy suddenly began to escalate very rapidly during the latter part of the 70s. As a matter of fact, since 1979, the Chinese economy has increased by an average of 10% per year for the last 20 years. Now, nations today, if you can increase your economy by 2 to 3% per year, that's considered a good year economically. China has increased by 10% per year every year for the last 20 years. Now, this has produced terrific economic surpluses. When you're growing an economy the size of China's by 10% per year, you're producing a lot of economic surpluses. Right now, China sells to us at least $80 billion more per year than we sell to her. So China's pulling $80 billion a year out of the United States of America. That is staggering within itself. What is China doing with all this extra money? Well, she's buying military equipment. And her favorite source of military equipment, believe it or not, is Israel. And Israel needs the money, and so they're selling it to her, and guess where Israel gets her equipment from? Now, that isn't even to mention the high-tech computers that President Clinton has sold to China over the last 2 or 3 or 4 years. So China is in a huge military buildup. Now, we also know that about 2 years ago, China swallowed one of the most vibrant economies on the face of the earth. Not only is her economy growing by 10% per year, but one of the 4 Asian tigers economically, Hong Kong, just went under total Chinese ownership a year and a half ago because the lease that Britain had ran out, and so they handed China one of the most throbbing financial centers of the entire world. Not only did they absorb China, but they're now telling us that they will soon reabsorb Taiwan. Let me quickly tell you the Taiwan story. Taiwan used to be called Formosa. When the Communist Chinese conquered mainland China in 1949, Chiang Kai-shek was the leader of Free China, and he ran to a little island 90 miles off the coast of mainland China called Formosa. Formosa today is called Taiwan. Chiang Kai-shek hoped to reinvade the mainland from Taiwan. He's never been able to do that, but he has done something very remarkable. The nation of Taiwan has become the 12th largest economic power on the face of the earth. They only have 21 million population, but they are 12th economically in the world. Furthermore, they have the 2nd largest gold reserves in the entire world. So China looks at this rich morsel called Taiwan and says, we want it back. We're going to take it back. There was a high Chinese official that made a statement. This was carried in the New York Times in 1996. And this is what he said. Mr. Freeman of the U.S. State Department quoted a Chinese official as asserting that China could act militarily against Taiwan without fear of intervention by the United States because American leaders care more about Los Angeles than they do Taiwan. Mr. Freeman characterized the statement as an indirect threat by China to use nuclear weapons against the United States. He went on to say, I have quoted senior Chinese who told me that China would sacrifice millions of men and entire cities to assure the unity of China, and who opined that the United States would not make comparable sacrifices. China said, we will take Taiwan, even if it means we have to bomb Los Angeles off the map. China does have intercontinental ballistic missiles that will reach the west coast of the United States of America carrying nuclear warheads. Now remember, this prophecy is of a war that will kill 1/3 of the world's population. Apparently, it will have to be a nuclear exchange to kill that many people, and the most powerful nuclear power on the face of the earth is the United States of America. The Taiwan issue is the hottest issue. In 1996, Taiwan had elections, and they so disturbed China because she hates democracy so bad that China lobbed missiles off the coast of Taiwan. And President Clinton ordered aircraft carriers into the Straits of Formosa. We sent 100,000 men there, and the 100,000 men are still there right now. At the same time, the House of Representatives passed a non-binding resolution that if China invades Taiwan, that the United States should defend Taiwan. In today's Indianapolis Star, Madeleine Albright is in China right now, and the Chinese officials warned her very soberly, whatever you do, don't mess with our right to Taiwan. We will not tolerate any interference whatsoever. It appears that we could see a conflict break out over the Taiwan issue at any moment. If I had to guess, I would say that will happen within the next year or two, is the way it looks to me. Now, I'm not positive it will be over Taiwan, and I'm not positive the United States will be involved. I certainly hope we're not. There has been an interesting development this last year. Both India and Pakistan became nuclear powers, and they're next-door neighbors to China. India has 1 billion population. Pakistan has over 200 million. Between those four powers, they have 2.4 billion. They have well over 1/3 of the world's population right there in Asia. So there could be a conflict among those three powers, certainly. We don't know for sure, but it certainly looks like we're right on the brink of the sounding of the sixth trumpet. What better way to bring the Antichrist to power than for the world to wake up to 2 billion dead? You've never heard such cry for peace and total disarmament and total nuclear disarmament as will happen when we awake to 2 billion dead.